Welcome to the New Times Weekly edition, where we bring you the top stories that made headlines in the course of the week. I am Joanne Babazi. Hope for agriculture sector. For a long time, financial institutions have generally shunned agriculture despite the sector's notable contribution to Rwanda's economy. However, commercial banks are now beginning to show interest in the sector, notably through supporting farmers, agro-processors, and other actors along the value chain with funding. Equity Bank Rwanda this week launched several financial products targeting 8 value chains, namely rice, maize, Irish potato, tea, coffee, dairy, poultry, and horticulture, committing to increase the loan share for the sector from 5% to 30% in 5 years. New report highlights France's role in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. A panel of legal experts led by American jurist Robert F. Muise on Monday handed their report into the role of France in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi on Rwanda's cabinet. According to the Muise report, the French government was neither blind nor unconscious about what the genocide against the Tutsi and provided unwavering support to the genocidal regime that was in power then. It says France bore significant responsibility for enabling what the authors called a foreseeable genocide. France, which had earlier released its own report acknowledging Paris's heavy and overwhelming responsibility in the genocide, welcomed the Muise report, with observers as well as the government of Rwanda and France seeing recent development as a step towards stabilizing collateral ties. Rusesabagina terror case resumes. Meanwhile, the trial of 21 terror suspects, including Paul Rusesabagina and Calix Tate Sabimana, resumed at the High Court Chamber for International and Cross-Border Crimes, with prosecution detailing the nature of the offenses against some of the accused, including fatal attacks against civilians. Court adjourned the trial to later this month. Top Rwandan woman referee to officiate at Olympic Games. Rwanda's top female referee Salma Radia Mukansanga was this week named among referees who will officiate at this year's Tokyo Olympics Games. The 30-year-old was the sole African match official at the Under-17 Women's World Cup and one of only 3 African referees at last year's FIFA Women's World Cup. Plans for Super League shelved. Still in sports, but on the international scene, 12 top European clubs sparked anger and widespread condemnation across the world after they announced they had created an exclusive elite competition, the Super League. But the plan collapsed, at least for now, only 24 hours after the announcement, when all member English clubs, namely Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Tottenham withdrew from the proposed competition. Several other clubs from Italy and Spain also pulled out. Welcome to the second segment of our weekly review. Now today in our studios we have James Munyaneza, our colleague, who is going to tell us more about the fundings of the agriculture sector. You're welcome, James.
Thank you, Joanne. Good to join you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, should one get excited about the Equity Bank's announcement of scaling up the funding for the agriculture sector?
Yeah, I really believe there's every reason to get excited that we are seeing a commercial bank in Rwanda significantly increasing its funding, for the agriculture sector from currently 5% of their total loan portfolio to they're talking about 30%, in the next 5 years. And for me, I think if only more banks could, join in as well and move in the same direction, I think this could be a game changer at the end of the day. Obviously, agriculture is key to our economy. It employs roughly 63% of our population. It contributes almost 30% to the national GDP. So there is every reason for a financial institution, any lender, to want to really increase funding towards this sector.
So this is going to take me to my second question. How do you think Rwandans, small-scale farmers, and the country's ambition is going to benefit from all this?
Well, obviously, it's a big thing because at the moment there is already some progress. Over the years there have been some progress with farmers coming together under cooperatives, with the increased use of fertilizer, with the irrigation services taking hold. All these, there are some positives. The output has really improved if you look at the numbers, but I think funding had always been a big problem because while agriculture employs the largest portion of our population, while it is one of the top contributors to our economy, it has been getting a paltry share, very small share of private funding and loans, credit, only 5%, and that is imbalance. There's a clear issue of imbalance. There's a problem. If you want to thrive on agriculture, ride on agriculture, to grow the economy, to boost the economy, and then only 5% of loans are going into that sector, then there is a problem. But if a bank, like we just mentioned, says, oh, I want to increase this actually significantly by 6 times, sixfold, it's a big leap, it's a big step forward. And so this, in the end, will help smallholder farmers in terms of their incomes, in terms of having access to, of course, credit, which they were not having access to at that level. They will probably be able to better manage issues of post-harvest handling, practices that we are giving us trouble with maize and the chemicals that we are undermining our produce. So if you can manage that process, access to markets and all this, obviously the muturage, the house smallholder farmer is going to benefit if more players can move in that direction, that is commercial banks.
Is it one-sided, or how is it attributing towards this important sector?
I don't know. You want to say that is this a case of, it's an isolated kind of case? It's a one-off sort of?
Yeah. Like,
no. I think there is, like I said,
going to benefit from this?
No, a bank. I don't think it's a case of banks sacrificing or going humanitarian. No. If you have money, your best bet is agriculture in this country. You have to put your money in agriculture because there are benefits in that sector. It's a gold mine, people now hold land titles. I'm sure there's going to be an element of collateral here and there, but now with the law change, having changed a while back, now Rwandans can actually stake their own land titles, and at the end of the day, it's not that they're giving you money and they abandon you, expect come back knocking on your door to collect their money. No, it's accompanying smallholder farmers. But it's not just about these private institutions, of course. Government has been doing a tremendous job.
Thank you so much, James, for sharing with us that important information.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Joanne, for inviting me to be with you today.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. I am Joanne Babazi. Let's meet next week. Have a lovely week ahead. Bye-bye.